All right, buddy. It's big time now. Our Borinquen Love Affair, Part 4. We're back. We're here to sweep up all the things that we may have left behind, all things Aguadilla. It's our special relationship and Western promises. Looking forward to this ending this relationship right, even though it will always go on both in our hearts and our minds. And well, every day you sit on position, you'll always have a love affair with Aguadilla. So let's keep things short and sweet. Nice short and sweet presentation today. Looking forward to getting started. Let's go right into a sector and get this thing started. Okay, see you there. Okay, so we are sitting so amicably, so enjoyably here at R8. We have one aircraft on frequency here near the Aguadilla Airport, a VFR Archer, just flying around, having a great time. And we hear from the confines of Flight Data's little cubicle to our back, new weather for Aguadilla special report. Uh-oh, Specie, this can't be good, right? Special weather reports never happen when things are really, really nice out, right? So we know it's just not a beautiful day there on the west coast of Puerto Rico. The Specie specifies, see, wind 008, visibility 2. Shucks. We are no longer VFR at Aguadilla, right? That's too bad. The official weather report states we are no longer VFR. Right now, we would be getting a call from Aguadilla Tower as well. The letter of agreement says that they should call us, but looks like Flight Data got the word first. So let's figure out what we're going to do to this inbound, this VFR inbound to Aguadilla, right? You probably can imagine what's being set up for today's presentation, but let's go to a bulleted list and let's do it official. Okay, so I'm sure you could imagine, right? You're probably using some deductive reasoning here and you using some context clues here. Your special, all right, is today's bulleted list title. And if you remember at the beginning, the presentation said Western promises and our special relationship. I think it's reversed, but we're throwing around the word special quite a bit, so I could imagine that you know what's coming, right? So what does this report mean to you, right? What does a specie of 2 miles visibility? Well, obviously, we know that things are no longer VFR, right? No longer VMC at the Aguadilla Airport. There must be some kind of obscuration that's not listed in the METAR that's making it abundantly clear what is causing the obscuration and the visibility, relative low visibility. So what is the best way to respond? The interesting thing about phraseology is it's a language in and of itself, right? And when rules come into play and we cannot force pilots to do anything, right? Especially VFR pilots, right? There's very little we can do to actually manipulate that aircraft, right? Without having to do something else. Like when you assign an aircraft a heading, you can't assign them an altitude to maintain, right? There's like some provisions of not only IFR aircraft, but VR aircraft. And there's a phrase that is absolutely perfect that makes our job a lot easier. It puts the burden of decision making and command and control decisions back on the air crew. So let's go back to the sector and find a phrase that fits, okay? Bear that in mind. I'll see you there. Okay, so here we are back in the sector. Archer 138 Bravo Charlie's hanging out there, and we have to forward them this. Archer 8 Bravo Charlie, the Aguadilla Airport is IFR, visibility 2 miles, say intentions, right? Phraseology is awesome, right? It's not language, right? It's not subject to, subject verb agreement and, pronouns and adjectives and adverbs, right? Sometimes it's very choppy and very clear and easy to understand, even without all the articles of the English language, right? So basically, this transmission is perfect because we told them basically the facts. The Aguadilla Airport is IFR, visibility 2 miles, kind of giving the reason why that IFR report is now available, right? The Specie report was broadcasted. Say intentions. It's awesome. Say intentions is a great way to say, to keep it short and to say, hey, you tell me what you need to do, because there's a whole bunch of things I could advise you to do. I could advise you to pick up an IFR clearance. I could advise you to not land at Aguadilla. There's a whole plethora, a whole giant list of things that I would like you to do, right? But you need to tell me, because whatever you tell me is going to be the motivator of my next transmission, right? So they come back with this. Archer 8 Bravo Charlie request special VFR in Aguadilla, full stop. Excellent. Okay, they knew what they wanted once they heard that, right? Sometimes they're ready for that decision. Maybe they were already listening to the ATIS. They just didn't tell you, right? Maybe they did get that special report. Maybe they were formulating their response, but they came back with that. Good. All right. Let's go to the bullet list and take inventory of what we got going on and see how we can find our way out of this chess move, right? We have the opening moves here, right? The board is open. Now we need to focus on the mid game. Okay, see you there. All right, man. Archery Bravo Charlie is special. Yikes. Special VFR. What the heck is this? I think I saw this at the recurrent training or on one of those funny little presentations we watch on Cedar, right? I don't remember any of this. It's true. It doesn't happen very often, right? It doesn't occur too often at all. We control traffic in the Caribbean, right? The Caribbean is beautiful, right? In terms of weather, right? Natural beauty is unsurpassed, but in terms of flying weather, people flock down here to fly, right? So we don't see this too often, but sometimes some fog rolls in, right? Like I said, maybe it didn't make its way onto the METAR report, or low clouds, which is not the case here, even though we have 2 overcast layers, but flight visibility, some kind of obscuration, right? Something happened, right? Where the obscuration is causing the aircraft not to be, or excuse me, causing the airport not to be VFR. Okay. So, but when it does, let's have our methodology, phraseology, and strip marking in our tool belt, right? This is a good refresher. This is a good idea, something to be prepared for. I'm not even sure if you're going to see this down in the lab unless you're going down for refresher training where we refresh on this. But why wait every year or every cycle or however recurrent or refresher training is given? Why not being ready for it all the time, right? Because it happens just like this, right? It's a special report. It's not even a scheduled report. So everything is very fluid, dynamic, and ever changing. We already know that, right? We know that's the nature of the job. But this in particular, you need to get the intentions of the aircraft right away, because you don't want to be playing a guessing game. You don't want to be playing 21 questions. You don't even want to be scurrying about trying to look for the right thing to say, right? The best part about this is to try to keep this in your short-term memory when you're dealing with special VFR operations, right? And sometimes you should even know there's context clues that'll happen in this sector, right? The joy of being an en route controller is having the big picture, right? Especially when dealing with slow aircraft like Archers, that you see that the Aguadilla weather, maybe it's dwindling, maybe conditions are not favorable, right? They are deteriorating, right? So, okay, keep that in mind, all right? And you're looking at the VFR aircraft you have on frequency, right? And you're like, okay, you know what? These guys are probably going to start heading back to wherever they departed from, or go somewhere else. And chances are those weather reports or those weather conditions at those airports might be deteriorating as well. So you get mentally prepared to say, oh, you know what? Chances are some of these guys might be asking for special VFR into the airport so they can land. Maybe they're not IFR certified, you know? So that's a way you can kind of pre-plan almost. So let's consult the FAR aim for a little bit. 7110.65 and the Borinquen Tower and SAM-1 Center letter of agreement. Okay, see you there. All right, so the FAR aim part 91, general operating procedures subpart B. I just read this and tried to break it down for you. Flight rules 91.157 states that special VFR may be conducted with an ATC clearance with 1 statute mount visibility and clear clouds. Cool. The San Juan Borinquen Tower letter of agreement states that the manual controller D8 must forward arrival information, including aircraft identification, aircraft type, estimated time of arrival, type of approach, and for special VFR, the direction from which the aircraft will enter the Class D and any altitude restrictions no less than 10 minutes prior to the aircraft's ET unless otherwise coordinated. Great. We have, unless otherwise coordinated, always the bail us out, the get out of jail free card almost, letting coordination rule the day. This should not be unfamiliar to you. If you're a D-side certified, or if you are a D-side watching this, you should know that this is part of your duties, right? These inbound calls happen all the time, but it also applies to special VFR operations, right? So good. We see what the FAR aim says about it, and we see what the letter of agreement says, right? So awesome. You can at least we can at least start this thing rolling here. So just like an IFR inbound, and this is something your D-side can help you out with, right? No difference here. Okay, so let's coordinate it, and then we'll get to the 7110.65. And let's pretend that your D-side is very, very busy, and this is something you as the R side controller can do, right? If you're training on our side, you're certified on D8, let's have you do this for them, okay? Or if you're a D-side watching this, you can do it just as well. So this is great. Okay, see you back at the sector. Okay, so here we are back at the sector. Let's keep the conversation going, right? We had that slight mental pause, but we are ready to roll with this to accommodate this request. Aguadilla R8, special VFR inbound, great coordination, right? You're even just alerting him, or her as to what you are coordinating. Not just any inbound, but a special VFR inbound. Aguadilla Tower. November 138 Bravo Charlie, Archer, estimating the airport 1705 from the southwest, maintaining special VFR at or below 2,500. And look at that. There's your strip. You write it real quick in a hurry. You're like, hey, give me a blank strip, right? November 138 Bravo Charlie. You scribble down what type of aircraft they are. TJBQ 1705 VFR for the altitude assigned. And if you go under general and the 7110, you would see that when dealing with special VFR or entering a surface area, it's a little circle with the arrow in the direction from which the aircraft is arriving from. So good. So just a quick little look right there, and perfect. We would, after we get the approval and exchange our operating initials, we do that, and I would coordinate that. And even if you wanted, you can even write, at or below 2,000, 025, right? Good. Everything is coordinated. Everything is awesome. Truly, just like the Lego movie, we're moving on. So let's keep this going, and we're making our way through this. So here we go. Okay, as promised, now we're going to jump into the 7110, right? We did a governing document, right? A very large document. The FAREM is a very much so large document that covers a wide array of subjects, right? We did a local, right? The LOA, the letter of agreement with Borinquen Tower and San Juan. So we went to a local guidance, and now we're jumping back to what the 7110, right? The end all be all authoritative letter that just really lays the hammer down in terms of rules and operating procedures. So we're back at chapter 7, right? We're still sticking with that visual aspect. So we're back in chapter 7. Chapter 7.5.1 states that special VFR operations in weather conditions less than basic VFR minima are authorized within the lateral boundaries of Class B, C, D, D being the Class Delta of Aguadilla, right? The Aguadilla Class Delta, or Class E surface areas below 10,000 feet MSL. Very good. We are having an aircraft enter a surface area, so that satisfies that condition, right? And as we see in that exhaustive list, Class D is what we're dealing with. Only requested by the pilot. Good. That's what Archer 8 Bravo Charlie had in mind. They immediately came back and said requesting, what was it? Special VFR to Aguadilla, full stop. Wonderful. On the basis of weather conditions reported at the airport if intended landing or departure. So if we didn't have the weather available, we would actually, if say the ATIS was out of service, right? Or there was no weather reported, right? Maybe the tower was closed or something. We would have to go off of what the pilot reported, right? But we're going off that special weather report, and we even kind of set up the conversation, right? We let them know that the weather has changed to be a special report. It's the visibility that's causing the field to no longer be VFR. So we kind of set up this conversation to go very smoothly, right? Avoiding those superfluous transmissions, avoiding playing 20 questions while we have other stuff in sectors 2 and 8 going on. So good. So then the 7110 now offers phraseology, right? Those awesome italics that help us out get our job done, right? We get paid to do this job very well, and they even give us a script. So in a way, you're kind of like an actor. Well, anyway, I'm sure you have very talented, maybe school plays or, clubs or something like that. So there you go. Cleared to enter, name of the surface area, and if required, direction of name, airport, okay, and maintain special VFR conditions, and if required, at or below that, obviously an altitude that'll be below 10,000 feet MSL. So you see how we can plug in all of our information pertaining to this situation, right? You can tell we're probably going to be throwing in Borinquen there in terms of airport and surface area name. We already have an altitude in mind, right? We'll talk about that in some subsequent slides. But this may seem like a lot. This may seem like an intimidating form of coordination. Well, actually, it's a clearance. Now, you took care of the coordination, right? The coordination is nothing new to you as a D8 controller or R8 controller. You've done that many times, so that shouldn't be too bad. This is a mouthful, right? There's no way to break this up. It has to flow and make sense and not overwhelm the pilot. So how can we limit them from being overwhelmed? Say it nice and slow, very clearly, and try to emphasize, right, what actual clearance items are in there, right? We always like to say that the altitude is very important, right? We always state and restate altitude objects in our clearances, so let's emphasize that. So, okay, that's a lot, but let's give it a go. I have faith that we can do this, right? So here we go. Okay, so let's roll with it. Here's our first transmission. November 138 Bravo Charlie, cleared to enter the Borinquen surface area west of the Aguadilla Airport. Maintain special VFR conditions at or below 2,500. See, not too bad, right? We said it slow at that pace. And it's not too bad if you think about it and you break it down phrase by phrase, it all makes sense, right? Call sign makes sense. Cleared to enter the Borinquen surface area, right? That's good. We're not clearing them to the airport, right? The surface area, even though class deltas are small, we know that it's a 5-mile ring and up to 2,500 above ground level cylinder, right? So we're clearing them not only to the airport, right, but the surface area, right? That little cylinder, right, is their surface area. So it makes sense. So we clear them into the surface area and we're describing it west of the Aguadilla Airport, right? Because as you see, that little circle in the surface area, we're telling them where the aircraft will be or where they're supposed to be, right? And clearing them, trying to pinpoint them down to an area where they will enter. And then we go on, maintain special VFR conditions. Perfect, right? They have to maintain that 1-mile visibility and clear of clouds, right? Perfect. At or below 2,500, right? We'll get to why 2,500 later, but it almost makes sense, right? We are on an island that is low in terms of sea level, and we know that the confines of class deltas are 2,500 feet above AGL. So we are somewhere in the ballpark of keeping that aircraft within the vertical confines of Borinquen's airspace, their sovereign class delta, right? And we all know that if you go further into FAR AIM or somewhere in the FAR AIM, you know that clearance to enter the class delta airspace requires two-way radio communication. The aircraft with the tower. So we're setting all that up. So very good. We get a readback. Roger, special VFR at or below 2,500, November 8 Bravo Charlie. Let's go the extra mile. November 8 Bravo Charlie, Aguadilla. Special information November is current. Advise when you have November. Good. Just in case if they don't have it now, we are going to have them get the full METAR, get the full ATIS, because the only thing we told them initially was that the visibility no longer presented VFR conditions at Aguadilla. So now we are telling them, hey, get November and tell me, because you might want to know about other things like the ceiling and the dew points missing, and maybe there's a taxiway closure or something. So, okay, good job with that. Really good job with that, actually. And this is a great opportunity for you to practice. You can go back to the slide and practice it up. You could throw in a different call sign, but you'll be getting this down pat in no time. I promise you that. So, okay, let's keep it going. All right, great job with that. Okay, let's have some parting thoughts here on what exactly we have going on, and maybe even answer some of the questions you might have that linger on. So just remember, special VFR is low on the priority list, right? If you continue reading chapter 7, right, and section 5, right, where all the special VFR business is talked about, they're going to tell you in so many words. I tried to break it down here. Do not delay IFR aircraft due to accommodating special VFR requests, right? So if there was an aircraft departing, right, I mean, we would still grant the release and clear the aircraft off, right? 8 Bravo Charlie is still very much so far away from the Borinquen Airport where we can authorize a special VFR clearance, right? We're not hurting anything there. But if you had a pending aircraft cleared for release, or an aircraft maybe 5 miles, 10 miles north of 8 Bravo Charlie's position, landing full stop at Aguadilla or something like that, an IFR aircraft, then we would just do a standby, right? Maintain VFR, right? They're flying. They would have advised us if they encountered IMC conditions, right? So we just would tell them, hold on. That's the beauty about phraseology yet again. Say intentions, and guess what? Everything can be met with stand by, right? I have your request, stand by, right? Stand by, IFR aircraft 5 miles north of your position, lands Aguadilla, right? So something like that, okay? Remember, non-radar separation or visual separation to fixed wing aircraft must be applied. For helicopters, they play by a different rule, and there's a whole bunch of provisions. So there it is, 7.5-3 for the helicopters, right? So if you want to know more about helicopters and special VFR clearances, since helicopters can stop, in midair, planes can't. Well, they can, but it would be very bad if they did. So helicopters kind of play by separate rules. But just remember non-radar separation, so vertical, right? Always go vertical. That's why you give a special VFR altitude to maintain at or below, so 1,000 feet above that, or visual. Say if that aircraft 10 miles north of, let's go 5 miles north of 8 Bravo Charlie's position was there, and we pointed out to them, and Bravo Charlie saw that aircraft, right? Even though the field is still showing IFR, they can follow them, visual separation. Just stay within the confines of Chapter 7 there, right? And vertical separation is the easiest non-radar separation to apply, okay? So now you're like, hey, Steve, well, if the aircraft is on the ground at Borinquen, how do we act there? Well, okay, let's go right back to the LOA real quick, and it's one of the second times. So it's the only second time that special VFR is mentioned in our LOA. So it will say, Borinquen Tower must, and if you go all the way down to the list and find this, request approval for special VFR from the San Juan Radar Controller, R8, advise direction of special VFR flight, and conduct special VFR at or below 2,500 feet. Perfect. So we have the rules that play there, right? So we are going to relay a clearance to that Borinquen controller. That's what we're going to do. And as it's stated, we have the special VFR altitude to maintain, right? So we have everything in there. So yet again, plug in and speak, find a phrase that fits, and practice makes perfect, right? Plug in random call signs, plug in random directions, but say if they're eastbound. So let's just do it together, right? No need for a sector, right? This is what we'll give over the line. Archer 13 Bravo Charlie cleared out of the surface area east of the Aguadilla Airport. Maintain special VFR conditions at or below 2,500. Perfect, right? Real simple there. So good job with that. You guys are killing this. So keep up the good work, and I'll see you at the next slide. Okay, so we ended our special relationship there with Aguadilla, right? We took care of special considerations, right? Special VFR is interesting. Like I said, it doesn't occur too often, but we still need to give it some attention in these presentations, right? If we start out teaching this fundamentally, it will be ingrained and in that toolbox. And when you use it, there might be some dust off on, but you dust off and you use it. So here we go. We're sent the sector. All right, Aguadilla Tower request release. All right. Request release, translate 8108 off runway 26. Runway 26 operations, huh? Yeah, the Western promises, right? Well, I sure as heck promised you something, West. So here we go. All right, let's take a look at our bulleted list. Probably the shortest bulleted list we have in terms of addressing major issues, right? So easiest provision of any LOA you will have at San Juan Center. Here it is. Assign runway heading to all IFR aircraft departing runway 26. Simple, easy as pie. It takes the guessing work out of it, right? There it is. It's just perfect. Anytime they call up, we're going west at Aguadilla, released. It's perfect. Flight runway heading, released. Actually, there was a tower that I worked out and it was awesome. If the controller that we called granting us the release just said released, it automatically meant runway heading. Actually a pretty cool thing. So anyway. This is as easy as it gets to emulate that. So 26, runway heading, easy as pie. Okay, next instance of all things west at Aguadilla. See you there. And you know what? Just for fun, practicing release phraseology is never a bad thing to do in these presentations. And our reply to that Aguadilla request would be, translating 10 fly runway heading, maintain 6,000 released. Perfect. Runway heading every time, 26, takes the guesswork out, and it's a great trivial item to know because when you are asked it and you might be expecting, oh God, do I have a range of headings like the east? Like is it a 0, 1, 0 down to 1, 2, 5, 100, 29? No, 26, fly runway heading. Okay, good job. Okay, so our last major thing in this presentation, our last major thing to really talk about in terms of Western promises, right? And I'm not talking about Eastern promises. That'd be really cool with Viggo Mortensen and, beating people up in saunas and stuff. But here we are. Look at us. We had an aircraft arrive over K-Talk, November 55 Victor Hotel, and we are west at Aguadilla. And I pulled up LIAP for you for the RNAV runway 26. So if it isn't glaringly obvious to you now, you probably know what needs to be done. Lie up, and even when they make the south turn to T-burn for the RNAV runway 26, is really close to the R6 boundary, right? It's very interesting to work a 26 operation when San Juan's really busy in terms of arrival, because you're just basically paralleling it. Because if you see there, lie up and you move east, that is the Bino arrival gate. So aircraft arriving San Juan terminal area over Bino on Yankee 290 or Route 6 if they're low or something like that. That's a tricky area, right? So you have to respect whatever traffic R6 has. This is even further complex if there's weather around that area, because now you really have to separate aircraft. So if you pull up the plate, which you easily can via AirNav or SkyVector, you know that the altitude at LIAP is 4,800. Actually, 26 is a pretty cool operation, because just about every fix on the RNAV runway 26 approach that serves as initial approach fix, the crossing altitude is 4,800. So you're pretty well set there. So cool. So what are we going to do? We are going to coordinate. What coordination? Chapter 5, baby, that radar point out, right? Transfer of radar identification via a point out. R6 RA point out. R6. West of Lie-up, number 55 Victor Hotel, descending 4,800, direct Lie-up for RNAV runway 26. Good. And sometimes people will ask, well, Steve, what about that direct lie-up for RNAV runway 26? Well, if you remember in a point out, you provide any other subsequent information. And I think it's important that you do this, because that aircraft is not going totally eastbound after lie-up, right? They're conducting the RNAV 26. They're going to make a 90-degree T-tail turn to T-burn. So it's good for them to know that, right? It's good for them to know that, hey, I only have to protect this guy and watch this guy when he goes over lie-up, and when they make that turn to the south, they'll be leaving my airspace, and I don't have to watch them no more. Okay, so that's basically why you give that supplementary information. An Aguadilla lander going direct lie-up, right? They're going to watch them. They're going to brush, enter R6's airspace, and then they're going to turn and leave the airspace to the south, right? So it's good to provide that information. So great job with that. That's basically it. That's special considerations and Western promises. All quiet on the Western Front now. Yeah, pretty funny. Good movie. So yeah, great job with that today. One of our shorter presentations, and happy that we got that out of the way. So, okay, see you at the slide. Woohoo! Yes, very nice. We be popping bottles because it's a special VFR occasion, because you guys just did a fantastic job negotiating and navigating your way through this sporadic happening at San Juan Center, right? Special VFR doesn't happen too often. West operations don't happen all too often at San Juan, let alone Borinquen, right? You can count on both of your hands how many times West operations happen, and you can probably count on one hand how many times you'll build a special VFR in a given year. But guess what? It is awesome to be able to know that you can handle it when it does occur. You know, and be prepared. Just like the Boy Scouts say, be prepared, right? That's what you want to look for, right? You want to have those tools in your toolbox, and you don't want to be fazed by it when it occurs, right? It's just awesome to be prepared like that. You may not use it all the time, but you have that ingrained in there, you spit it out, and it does the job. So, yet again, Steve here, very happy for you. Go pop that bottle and go relax. Enjoy the rest of your day. Carry on knowing that you did a great job learning about special VFR and West operations, all things Borinquen. And don't shed a tear, dry your eyes, but this is probably one of our last videos we're going to do on Aguadilla, right? We kind of exhaustively covered it. So remember, consult your LOA for any other questions. Look at the 7110 in reference to chapters 4, 5, and 6 when talking about either approach control services, initial sequencing of departures, departure procedures, and special VFRs in Chapter 7 as well. So 4, 5, 6, and 7, you can never go wrong. That's the meat and potatoes of everything you're ever going to know here as an en route controller at San Juan. So yet again, I'm proud of you. You did a great job. Remember, stay positive, just like your separation. I will see you at the next video. All right, guys. Bye now.